Are we on now?
Yes, good evening. Yes, we are on live. All right, I want to say good evening to all our viewers, our colleagues from friends and family from Berbice, to our guest tonight, Mr. Kamraj Ramjatan, Member of Parliament, leader of Alliance for Change. Later on in the program tonight, we'll be joined by MP Jurita Fernandez. Um, I want to wish all you guys that watching across Guyana and around the region, Facebook, YouTube, we're all there. Thank you to accept us into your home at this hour. And there she is. I wanted to welcome Jurita Fernandez also at tonight's program. Um, if I may start, Kamraj, we have concluded the local government election. It took a while to start it, and we want to discuss the local government elections with our citizens and for them to have an understanding, what the Alliance was Change was saying about the local government election, the bloated list, um, the the corruption that's happening within the local government area, the fooling of the citizens. These are some issues that we are having. Cameron, if I may start with you, can you give us a synopsis of the local government election recently held on the 12th of June?
Thanks, Ricky and Babishans. A very good night. We are on again in AFC on the move. Thanks also, Jureta, for being here. I know that you had a very busy day, and you will have to leave the country soon. I understand too. Look, I want to say that we maintain the correctness of our position and principled position, that is, of not participating because of the two reasons we have emphasized over the course of this elections, from nomination right up to now. We've been saying that we are not participating because the list is not right. The list has so many things, and we have been vindicated by that because even Jagdeo had to apologize to the nation for the dead people that were signatories and candidates on his list. Again, the second reason was the constituencies within the various NDCs which we had indicated have not been properly demarcated and not demarcated by the proper authority. The proper authority is the GCOM, and the people who had done the demarcation was Minister Nigel Dharamlal and his ministry, and we found that that is not right. Of course, the GCOM adopted what the Nigel Dharamlal did, but knowing all the trouble that Nigel Dharamlal is in right now, I mean, we don't pay very heavy confidence or put very heavy confidence on that minister. We all know what he is capable of. So, indeed, we maintain that position. But now that it has come and gone, we also had indicated to Babishans that we would like, at least in the PPP support base areas, that they do not go and poll, but use their abstention politics there to make a statement to the PPP that you're not governing properly. And I must tell you that that statement was very made bold by the fact that it's about 37% or about that which turned up in some of these PPP areas, and the percentage was even lower than that. And
Correct, correct.
that is heartening because people now understand their roles in putting people into the power and places of power and so on. And by virtue of that low turnout, I believe that we have been heard somewhat by the Babishans, especially. And notwithstanding that the results show that they won 66 out of 80 NDCs and municipalities, the turnout means a lot in the sense that it pushed the PPP now to probably understanding. I hope that they take the message that was sent here to understanding that they got to govern this country better at the local level and also at the national level. It also reflects, as we have been saying, a disgust and a resentment to the PPP as a result of the high cost of living and inflation and all of that, whereby their purchasing power has diminished by almost 200% literally. So what they used to buy with the salaries then or wages then, they hardly could buy now the same amount of items. As a matter of fact, half and less than half of that item. So we feel vindicated in what we did, and we are now going to ask the very powerful question: are we going to get this list, voters list, properly done for the 2025 elections? Because there is where the troubles in Guyana can start again, all over again. And we need a valid voters list, a cleansed list. And one is hoping now that GCOM has done the local government elections, that it starts this activity of cleansing that list and not ensuring that so many foreigners are in it, that so many people who are not resident in Guyana, so many dead people are in it, and so on. And that will be our call as from now on, that GCOM gets its act together. There is also another little point I wish to make on the elections. GCOM has not proven itself capable of getting the results out in an expeditious manner. It took over 24 hours and some more for it to really make the declarations. And we thought we would have seen this done even on the night of the elections. So they have some shortcomings that they will have to remedy, and gaps and so on that they have to fill to ensure that they prove a worthy institution to ensure a successful 2025 general elections, and elections thereafter. So there are lots of things that reveal themselves. I noticed in today's Stabrook News editorial a telling piece criticizing especially the PPP government and GCOM to a certain extent on these same issues. Those are my opening remarks on local government elections.
Thank you, Kamraj. I mean, you're touching really the, I recalled, I must say that, that we know that tens of millions of dollars have been spent on this community, especially the APNU stronghold area. And I must give them credit, people, to understand the difference between the role of a government that's supposed to build an infrastructure versus the governance issue that you speak about. It's two different things. You recall when they told us that if the people don't eat road, you remember that statement? They have a taste of it now. And Jurita, I want to bring you in here in terms of your analysis or your perspective of this local government election. And as we predicted, as the alliance would change, that the governance of this government is very poor. And we've been saying this over and over, and they only benefit their friends, family, and favorite, which the people on the ground understand. We were pushing all these issues. So can you give a little synopsis as to your take on the recent local government election?
Thank you, Ricky. Thank you. Good night to everyone viewing the program. The first thing I want to say is that I'm in agreement with Kemraj for the call for the cleansing of the list. Still, we did have the situations that we faced even before the election was held there on June 12th with persons that were not alive, and the whole apology that had to go forward from none other than the vice president Bar Jagdeo for that person's name being included on the list. So we definitely have a problem when it comes to the voters list, and by no means should anyone interpret the local government election being had as being an acceptance that the list is okay to go forward with to the 2025 election. So the Alliance of Change stood very firmly on the principle that the list needs to be cleansed. We stepped back, we held out, and we will continue to call for the cleansing of that list. We saw what was done at the level of the 2020 elections, and we cannot have that repeated at the 2025. So I just want to reiterate and underscore that again, that the cleansing of the list is something that we will continue to call for. It's absolutely important, and by no means can you give any similarities between a local government election and a general election. Anybody that tried to do that is grossly misinforming the population. And I've noted a lot of comments as was coming out of the PVP that tried to equate the local government election results to saying that it's something, it's going to be reflected in that of the general and regional elections, which is not so. Anyone that knows to analyze elections will know that that is not the case, you know. When it comes to the election itself, I did note, and I have been going through the numbers as you know I would have been doing, and there are some very striking numbers. But one of the things I want to address is the fact that I see again Vice President Barjaglio coming out there and stating the numbers. You know, I think he's at 60 something out of the 80 PVP one and all of those things. You know, and you have to address it, because the first thing persons need to understand that if you are to actually sum up the total voting population in those areas, some of them you can collectively put 3, 4, 5 of them together, and they can't make a one constituency in Georgetown. So those are things that people need to understand. So it does not in any way, shape, or form give an equation to what you should expect at a general and regional election. So people need not get carried away by those numbers at all. The townships are huge. The electorate base in those regions are huge. So the NDCs that he's so touting about, I mean, this is somebody that's saying to the PNC, our colleagues in the PNC, that, oh, you should not be boasting that you are retaining your strongholds. And then there they are trying to boast that they're retaining their strongholds in the NDC. That is actually, when it comes to the weight in the number of the electorate, way smaller, gives very little weight. So at the level of a national election, it doesn't have any bearing or any shift or so forth. So those are things that we have to look at. One of the things that I did note, and this is particularly in the hinterland areas, I noted a lot of shift within the region when it comes to where voters are registered to vote. And I do want to caution persons to look for things like that moving forward. I do see that the PPP is working to have voters shift to particular areas so as to sway the decisions of those NDCs and municipalities and so forth. So those are things that we definitely need to keep our hands on moving forward, because we don't want to be missing anything like that. But I believe that the electorate showed a lot of wisdom as they were going through with this election. And I just want to note, like, some of the numbers that was very interesting to me is, like, I saw the box in Fallis NDC, that vote. I know that our colleagues in the APNU, their vote increased by 1,300, and 96. And there you have it again when it comes to Mocha Arcadia, increasing by 503, Hazelton Grove increasing by 1,353. And these numbers are numbers that I specifically pulled out because you would remember the efforts pushed by the PPP into these areas. We particularly when it comes to the Mocha Arcadia NDC, I particularly remember one of the meetings held there, and none other than Irfan Ali was in there. The chairman of the NDC stood up and attempted to ask questions, and he was basically extremely rude and shouted on that individual, the Mocha Arcadia NDC. They came out and they showed that, hey, we did not buy into what exactly you were selling to us, so we're going to go in the direction that we went in prior. So a lot that needs to be taken away from those things. And I did have to note also, and I know that we're online on the move, and I have to add in at this point in time, that I did note the effect when it comes to particular areas that the Alliance Change would have contested in, and I am noting very specifically where those votes would have been shifted and so forth. So we have been doing the analysis, and I think that as the days go by, we will be able to bring a lot more information out to the public. But as it is right now, I have to say that we're very proud of our constituency and the knowledge that they have been showing, their blatant intent and the voice that they have expressed through their vote, that they are not gullible. And I am tremendously proud to be working with Guyanese families that are so forward thinking, and they are ready to go forward and say that we do not believe whatever the PPP is spewing at us, and so that they have gone forward and shown that, and we know that at the 2025 election they will continue. But the work has to go forward. If you will allow me, Ricky, to just move straight
Go
into
ahead.
the work that we have been doing as Alliance for Change, and one of those things, I know we were in Madia. That's the very last place we were. Prior to that, we were in Bartica, we were in Region 2, we were in Region 6. Guys, you know that we're on the ground. And we need to be touching base with everyone. This whole concept of boots on the ground is something that it's not all a bed of roses. We have to go through the mud, we have to go through the rough terrains and all of those things. But we have been on the ground doing the work because it's important for us to reach with the people, to have the difficult conversations, because come 2025, I know that these are the persons that we will be relying on to give their support to us and for us to champion the cause and represent them in the best way we possibly can.
Thank you, Jurita, for that. Cameron, I know you want to chip in, but
Yeah,
you're up.
I wanted to commend the efforts of the guys that went into Madia, yourself, sorry, Juretta, and David and Sherrod and a couple of others, and ensuring too. I understand Basde was there. I was hoping that he was going to be here this evening, but he said that he's at a wedding, so I would like him to enjoy himself. The important point here is having boots on the ground, that was so well said by Juretta. Look, politics is meeting the people, talking to them, and even though they might not be your supporters or might want to cut you down when you go there, they listen to your arguments. I have done that for the PPP in PNC areas in the early part of my career. I have done that in both PNC areas and PPP areas when we became the AFC. You get cussed down and so on. But at the time when they're doing all of that, some might even throw stones at you. You still get that microphone and you talk to them and they will listen. And the soil is so well now in the context of the hardships that they're suffering, the bad governance, the fact that they had to go and buy votes with red shirts and monies too, inside of the red shirt, and then ask people to, put the camera to ensure that they could get the other half of it after they vote, has created in the minds of especially their base supporters, because some of them called and they said that this PPP really take theirs and pass we. They gone and give the opposition elements money and red shirts and all of that to vote for them, and they take we for granted. So they feel that they could buy the votes out, and they take we for granted, like they get transport over us. And a number of them have called me to say that that is not how we should do the work, and that is the PPP should do the work, and they're cussing them out. Remember, it's about 37% of the people. So you got 63% of the people who have total disgust and resentment with the PPP now, and they have literally taken on a very get short-tempered with them and dealing in this fashion. That you feel that you get transport over us. Well, you ain't get no transport, and all that digging out of them. You see, there are 2 times of the day. Juretta, you should know this. You know this analysis well. Around 8 o'clock in the morning and around 4 o'clock.
Peak
And a
time.
lot of, they get the support base and the vehicles, and they try beg those who ain't got to vote at morning time. They beg them to go afternoon time, because by that time they know all the people who are their supporters in their areas, and they will beg them to come. A number of them went with their vehicles to beg people. People say, well, why are you going to go and vote for? And literally throw them off track with all of this that they've been spending, and all of this, the monies that they've wasted, and all of the government services that they used. It has not worked out well for them. And so that is also a message that we must tell other people, that all across the country, it was like that. Don't ever feel, Barbicians, that you alone did this thing. A lot of people from Partika, Madia, all across the municipalities, they did it and told them, look, don't come and tell me stupidness for go vote for you now. I can't get 2 square meals a day, and you want me
Mm.
to vote for you? And then they stayed home.
Yeah,
The
that
kind
is that is that is that is the troubling thing, and I really like the call that we are making here. That good governance is a very important aspect of our economy, and I shared. I don't think I get continue to get to share, but I want to share something on YouTube. There is a video done by a news agency internationally about Guyana and the resource course. You know, um, and it's been 3 years now that they've been spending this money, and they'll be doing it for another 2 years. And the people here are not seeing effect, which Jorita, you spoke about the groundwork that we've been doing, and we went into the market area. That is where you will see exactly how people are spending the money, especially the middle class poor people, not those that go into the high end supermarket. Um, but you get to get an understanding of how the economy runs in terms of the spending power of the people. And when we ask the question, if you are feeling the effect of the oil money, and everything was negative. They said, why money? People said we can't even line up for our pension. That was some of the result that we had in Avidan Hoop when we went there. They got line up for the pension. They said, I think you wait wholly for your pension, the money done. And so these are some of a lot of these issues is what they are not looking into, and they believe that by buying the vote, if they went to my village here in Kobanjan, there was a group of people who came, there were 15 and boys went drinking some beers and shop and said, why you not go vote? The boy said, how much you pay? They said 5,000. The boy said, no, 10,000. They
Mm.
said, no, you gotta go vote first. The boy said, no, pay first and then we go and vote.
I
And
think
I told this guy, I said, no, man, y'all should have gone, vote for them, and bring it anyway, because I want those more evidence on that aspect of the thing. And by say if I tell him that, they would have go ahead and do it. You understand? Because the 10 vote would make a difference because they didn't contest in Kovanjan anyway. Right? The point is that I want to establish what you said, Kemraj, is that they believe that this bribery business is like an operational issue of governance. That is what they believe and have a tendency to believe. So I wanted, Jorita, I wanted
Mhm.
for you to I know you mentioned Bucks and Falls, which is on the East Coast where I am. You mentioned there were oh yeah, Hazelton Grove. This is my NDC. And the people put a
Mocha
song with
Arcadia.
victory. Maka Arcadia, those NDCs. Um, I wanted to draw to our viewers' attention when I will say the vice president made a statement that they wanted to take control of the entire municipalities and NDCs in this country. If that to happen, then democracy would have really died in Guyana. I want us to talk around the democracy of having these kind of results that we see here in terms of democracy and what it means to Guyana.
Well, I think if I can say, and just to start off the conversation, if I can say, when we talk about democracy, there's no point in even speaking about democracy if we're not speaking to an informed population. And I believe the key factor in any truly democratic society is for us to dismantle disinformation, misinformation, and for persons to actually get the cold hard facts of what is going on within our country. And that is what I particularly have been striving to do, because that is the only way we will actually be having persons coming forward at the level of an election and putting forward a vote from an informed position. So that is the key factor for me when we're talking about democracy altogether. I do want to touch on something before we even dive into that aspect of the conversation. I do want to mention that when it comes to buying the vote, one of the things I don't want to just talk away as though it didn't happen is the fact that the PPP did go out to the public and actually with no shame try to buy the vote form of the cash grant that they just
Mhm.
dragged forward, actually just removed all stipulations that they had on it last year. And Barbicians, I know we're live in Barbados, and Barbicians, you would remember that I came right here on Alliance on the Move just last year when the cash grant was shared out, and I said, there shouldn't be any stipulation put forward to so that for a child to receive a cash grant, because it was approved at the level of the National Assembly without any stipulations attached to it. And when we saw the stipulations coming forward with persons, children need to have returned their textbooks if they're not frequently attending the schools and all of that, I said it was being very biased, and the persons that will be at a disadvantage would be the students that are coming from poor households. And I fought against it. The Minister of Education did come forward last year, and she defended that. She defended the stipulations and the regulations that she was putting in place for persons to get the cash grant. But there you have it. Now, come 2023, we're on to the local government election, and all the stipulations were just pushed through the door, dust under the carpet, forgotten about, as though it was never something. And this is something I want persons to understand. That is the definition of buying the vote. That is how it is done. Last year, you defend, oh, you have to bring back your textbook. This year, oh, we're going to give you before school's closed and all of those things. You don't have to come to school on time. If you come to school just to collect the cash grant, so what? That is the definition of buying the vote. But again, I have to say, I'm tremendously, tremendously proud of the people out there, their level of knowledge, and their everything that they have displayed at the poll show. They understand that it was an attempt to buy the vote, and they rejected that attempt fully. So I am happy to see that level of understanding, that bit of knowledge coming forward, the disinformation about the because we care and all of that, the way in which the people just went out and rejected that. It shows that we are getting somewhere when it comes to democracy, because our population is actually a little bit more informed than they were before. So I'm very proud of that.
Thank you. Cameron, you want to make a point before?
Yeah, I want to make to concur totally with what was said there by Diretta, and also to indicate that this is one of the good things about the democracy. Guyana will remain a constitutional democracy,
Yeah.
but it must get better as time moves forward, not worse. There can be stalling and running on the spot, as it were, when certain things happen, but we want that to be, a moving forward all the time. And what makes it evolve forward is always to have the elections. You see, like when you have elections, and especially when the conditions are right for the elections, the people that participate as candidates, as signatories, the people that participate as voters, they have to now hear the issues from their candidates. They have to hear the issues from the parties that want their votes, and also the promises that the parties are going to be making and all of that, and where they're going to find the money to do all of these things. It is very, very vital. So when you say that I want your vote, I am going to ensure that the garbage is collected in a more efficient manner at Bartica or Madia, where are you going to get the money from? And all of that now is being told to the people, and the people gets educated. And that kind of education flows to the a generation next that will be far more educated about our electoral constitutional democracy. And that is why when the PPP didn't have it from 1994 right down to 2016 when we first had one, and then the 2019 when we had the second one. I mean, this PPP really want to make the people of this country fossilized. We must remain a country called Jurassic Park with bare dinosaurs. And that is what, is so blatant about the PPP not wanting an education to come via these institutions we created, elections at the local government level. And then when they do it now, after such a long period, 1 year, whatever, delay for their term here, we see so many other problems and so on. And rather than go and educate the public on policy issues, They gone and buy votes. I can pay you $5,000 for vote for me. What kind of nonsense is that? You got to tell the people what are the policies that can make you better, your children's education, the health system, the garbage collection, the drainage and irrigation system, and that kind of thing. Better policies that you will implement and how you're going to get the money to implement it. And they get plenty money now to implement it because the coalition government gave them that oil contract that is bringing in billions of US dollars. With all its imperfections, they got the money. But they don't want to tell people how the policies will come around and be operationalized to make life better. They want to buy votes, right? Cash grants, as so brilliantly articulated by Juretta there. At a time when the people didn't even write common entrance yet. And they want to give them it was definitely a vote buying strategy. No matter you curl it and turn it and twist it, it was clearly that. And I'm glad that Stavrik News and all this morning made mention of it as to how they're trying their best to do this thing. So it's that education that it will come from constantly having elections and so on that is going to make us a better people, a better nation, a better country.
Yes.
Cameron,
Ricky, and also.
Go ahead, go ahead.
I'm just jumping in here right now because as Cameron is speaking, I'm thinking how correct all of those things are. But when it comes to specifically when it comes to the policy position being explored and being displayed rather by the PPP, one of the things that I did note is that I saw various ministers of the PPP and even it went right up to the president taking platforms, particularly when it comes to the stronghold of the coalition stronghold and basically saying that we have to move away from any bit of race voting. That was the messaging that they were sending, and they were preaching the one Guyana message and stay away from race voting and all of those things. But I want persons, you have to really sit down and analyze the way in which they separate the messaging from the various areas that they touch down on, because I'm not hearing them going into bat and going in region 2 and saying, oh, let us separate ourselves from the race
yeah.
voting. Why isn't the messaging in their stronghold the same as they're bringing to the strongholds of the coalition? Why aren't they going to those areas and say, we're voting on policy, not on race? I want to see them in bat saying that we're voting on policy, we're not voting on race. That is when you have to really challenge them to see what is the oneness that they're talking about and where is the balance in the messaging that they're bringing forward. And if you were to really examine it, you will see that they have structured their campaigning efforts in such a way to basically break down the coalition of base. It's a psychological warfare, and I've been talking about this since last election, and I've been saying that, and I'll continue this messaging that this election, all the elections in our country, the PPP has headed into a next level psychological warfare. We have to be wise, we have to be informed, and we need to be equipped with the necessary knowledge to continue to fight the disinformation, fight the misinformation at all costs. I just wanted to interject and put that in. I just didn't want to lose that point before you moved on.
Thank you very much, Jurita. I think it was quite an outstanding point that you make. I mean, if the messaging, and you so beautifully put it, I have to give you credit for that, because you're putting the message in the Afro-dominated community and you're not taking the same message in the Indo-Guyanese community. That is a simple way that you're putting it, and you're absolutely right.
Because they depend. Let us be honest. Let us be frank. They're dependent in those communities for race-based votes. They will never take to the stage in those communities and say we're not voting race, we're voting policies, because then the people will be like, but what's the policy? They never brought any policy to us. But
So
that's all facts.
I'm happy that you brought it up, because, Kamraj, I know that we have a meeting coming up to meet the ERC very soon. I think it's on I think the 20th, 20 something.
Yeah. Sometime we have accepted.
We got to meet with them, and we're going to highlight these issues during that. These are some of the issues that we have to bring to the ERC. They must not only say, oh, a color man, man, a black man. That's not. They are different tactics that they're using to express the race in this country, right. And we have to bring it to the ERC attention.
The divide and conquer strategy.
That's right. And there is an element of coercion at a more subtle level that they used, especially for this Georgetown campaign that the PPP carried out. They literally, the president and the vice president, I think the vice president more than Irfan Ali, indicated that we are not going to support the APNU if they win back the majority in Georgetown. Remember that? He made
Yeah.
he said that we are not going to support that governance at the city of Georgetown.
Got them.
And he was literally persuading, trying to more than persuade, coerce by virtue of telling people that try to vote differently this time because we gonna put the Georgetown in a better place, and to force and coerce. That is an element that, I mean, might be irregular in our kind of a democracy, but for the PPP, that is like normative. Is the regular rule now.
The
Hey,
modus operandi.
we're gonna blank Calio, we're gonna blank Calio NDC. We're not gonna give a little subventions and so on. And as Yubraj Narain indicated, these people block them from getting so much monies.
Yep.
And they're gonna do that, but they're gonna do that to their detriment. You better. I hope they're reading the tea leaves. They especially Jagdeo, who really should be gotten out of that government now. He ran the campaign for them, say you're gonna bring in all these constituencies and municipalities, and what he got there, literally, I understand they're so disheartened and disappointed in him, and there's big problems inside of that PPP right now. Not only in relation to some senior official of that government raping a child, we got other big issues. And I want to mention that these issues will always come up to create in the minds of ordinary people that this party called the PPP is not the party that used to be. It is made up of a set of criminal elements, people who want coerce, people who want to buy votes, people who don't want to do the institutional thing, like create establish the appoint judges like the chancellor and the chief justice, make up the Judicial Service Commission, all these various commissions that have yet not started operationalize themselves because of appointments not being made and a whole host of other things. And so much parliamentary days are being left and we can't even go to parliament. We can't get works done by certain security committee, the Ben committee that is called the Security Sector Committee. We're not getting any meetings at all. So we can't ask what it is about that fire recommendations, Mr. Ben, that you got. How did you tell? But what we see now, our indigenous daughters being burned in dormitories, and then from senior officials of the government, our daughters from the indigenous community being raped by them. What nonsense is going on? And people are watching. People are watching them. And I hope that just like how they're watching them, this local government elections, they continue to watch them in relation to all these various issues.
This is just a warm up. This is just a warm up, camera. This is just a warm up, and I'm really happy that you brought that issue out there in terms of that sectoral committee of public security in the parliament is not met. I recall we met on Friday, and the same Minister Ben was there on the Natural Resources Sectoral Committee. These guys, and we're talking about governance here, Jurita. These guys come to this committee with no knowledge, and he admitted that he's not a special area of natural resources. So I said, well, you put square peg in round hole here, right? We make a proposal work plan that we are going to make a work plan for the balance of the year and to continue next year after recession in Parliament. He said the work plan is biased. You ever hear a work plan that somebody put forward is biased? He says all the work that we put out is from GGMC. Now, I wanted to I want to tell the people this here, that in the natural resources sector, the GGMC control all the extractive industries, excluding forestry.
Hmm.
What they expect the work to be done. The gold extractive, the diamond, bauxite, sand,
Sand, quarry.
um, quarry, the petroleum, they're all under GGMC. The only force you have only logging. So I said, all right, we can bring in a company, large company. We can go to Rongan Inc. So that was Sue Company before. Is their company, right? And I said, and I had to, and he continue. I want to make this known that this work program is biased. I was so, can you make a recommendation? I said, I don't have to make any recommendation. So you're hereby criticizing a work program that some honest people try to bring little question to the citizens of this country can see, and yet you cannot make a recommendation to the work program. This is the
They're
kind
doing
of
it,
behavior.
they're blocking the work of the Natural Resource Committee, just like he
Absolutely.
has blocked the work of the Security Committee, and that he's blocked, and they just like how they blocked the work of Juretta's Committee, Public Accounts Committee. They're not
Yeah.
Yeah.
turning up to meetings and things like that. And that
And
is where we are going to have tremendous problems in this country. Yeah.
yeah, the
Yeah.
questions, so the question them can't be asked. When we ask now, we put in our program that we are going to bring forward some company to do a presentation. You know, so Exxon came up. Exxon came up. Who said to bring Exxon on the table? Oh, we cannot bring the Exxon on the table because the company people with the amount of negative in publicity that's going on with the media houses, and that the people will be afraid to do business in Guyana and in disenfranchised. I said, but no, but you can't preempt what question we are. We want to ensure that the company is comfortable in Guyana. We have to ensure that they have no issue. You understand? We don't have to be negative about the company. And he just gone after the negativity of the company. And this is the people that they put, you know, in this committee to function. You gotta get vibrant people, man. People who want to see work done. You want a better governance. You want better things for the citizens. You want to see that all this money is coming. The EITI shut down. All these things will came up. We want to know what's going on. We want to see the bidding process. They say the thing was hijacked. All this we need to see. We need to know how much sand and stone go in the country. Are you importing? What is the quantity are you importing? These are the presentations you gotta done. You issue logging concession. How much you issue for last year? The year before?
And
Who
to
get it?
whom?
So
Yeah.
who will get it? Who are the beneficial one of this company? We want to see those information. And
Well,
these are the things. Jorita, go ahead. I'm just crazy on this thing.
I would just say that you're describing a body that is not the PPP. The PPP does not respect any one of those committees. They just show up to committee meetings just to check it off, just to take it off as something that was done. They have no interest in actually going through and making it into a very successful meeting. And I've noted that. I've left the PAC, the Public Accounts Committee, they hardly show up now, and when they do show up, it's just to push in a headline or so and just to drag the process out so that we do not get to their years of governance and for us to examine those. So we have experience at the very depth of it that the PPP have no interest in transparency, accountability. Those are the concepts that we've been talking about for quite some time. What I can say is that their strategy have been failing them. It has been obvious that the people are rejecting such a strategy. The advent of social media, we're living in a very the information age. A lot of persons would refer to it as, and because of that, persons are in tune with what is going on. I'd like to make this point. I like to reiterate this point because the more informed a population is, the more capable they are of making smart decisions. And this is what we're seeing. The PPP, no matter how they try to sugarcoat it and put some icing on it and all of that, the fact is that they went out there with state resources with a budget of $781.9 billion dollars in 2023. They went into all the strongholds of the coalition and they campaigned brutally and they aimed to get this huge win, and it didn't happen. And I can say this also, even at the level of the APNU, there was not all hands on deck. So even without all hands on deck, they could not do what they set out to do. What had it been a case you had the fullness of everyone's hands coming forward and in the process, and what are they looking at with the APNU
Yeah.
plus AFC slate? They cannot compete with that with everything that they pushed for, with all the money that they doled out, they could not reach the mark that they set for themselves. And I have to say that they set this mark for themselves. We didn't set it for them. When they realized that the count was coming in, you would have noted all their friendly media houses were absolutely silent throughout the time that the results were coming in, because they didn't know what to say, they didn't know what to do. They probably had to start scrapping some things that they had, their write up they had preempted and all of those things. But we have to keep focused. I have to say this: let us keep focused. Let us make sure that we
Yeah.
continue to speak with the people. Let us continue to hear their concerns. I understand the plight of the majority of Guyanese right now. They're out there, they're struggling. The research that has been coming in has been proven that persons are being faced with the hard decisions of which meal they're going to feed their children and all of those things, with all of those monies being pushed around by the People's Progressive Party. In 2023, persons are starving in Guyana. And I always like to remind persons that the biggest issue that we have in our country is an economic issue, the disparity
That's
between the haves and the have-nots. And when we talk about have-nots, there's no particular ethnicity that is saturated within the have-nots. We have every single ethnicity being covered there. And I just want us, and Ricky, if you can allow me to just segue
Go ahead.
into
Go
the
ahead.
major issue
yes.
of today. One of the
Make the point.
major one of the major ethnicities that we have right about now being among the have-nots is the indigenous communities within Guyana,
Absolutely.
and they are there. And I can say that the PPP have gone into those communities, and they have used those communities and those people as political football. They have promised them the moon and the stars, and they have not delivered. And as we're seeing today, as the headlines in the newspapers are dominating right now, even to the worst that we have ever seen, that we are seeing allegations of the most vile sexual assault by a sitting government minister, and we are yet to hear any firm condemnation, at the very least, coming forward from the People's Progressive Party. I have noted two statements that I have read, not even two statements, I'll have to say one from the Minister of Education and then a little snap of a post by Vindhya Prasad, both unacceptable. I have not seen any level of pure condemnation of such an act. It is yet to be seen. I have heard the flip-flopping of the comments that is coming from none other than Irfan Ali on the matter, waiting for evidence to be presented and all of those matter. This is something that we cannot sweep under the carpet. And I have to say, when it comes to this particular issue, I have been speaking to some folks and I said, this transcends political boundaries to me. And I feel very personal about the issue. And I can tell you, Ricky, this is not something I've been speaking for now. At the level of the National Assembly, when we had Minister Nigel Darmla, that the allegations are being made against right now, when we had him made that comment to a member of parliament, a female member of parliament in the opposition, that she needs a dildo, when that comment was
Yep.
made, I spoke out and I said, if at the level of the National Assembly, he is so empowered and emboldened to make such statements to a sitting member of parliament, this is not at the corner, at no rum shop. This at the
Mm.
level of the National Assembly, on the floor he was standing when those comments were. I said, if that is what he's doing, I can only imagine what he is doing when it comes to our indigenous sisters. I made those comments since then. I could go pull it up right now on my social media page and all of that. We have been receiving so many complaints since this story went out, and everybody have been receiving tons of different comments coming in. I've been scrolling social media. There's so many other young women that is saying, if they're to speak about what they experience at his hands and all of those things, we need not just a thorough investigation, we need him removed from that seat while an investigation is being had. Because no way you can tell me you're investigating this man whilst he is patrolling the country on taxpayers' dollars, being cloaked by government power. That does not make any sense to me.
Cameron,
And
you
by
want to chip
no
in?
way, and Enrique, I have to add this, by no way can I accept that the Ministry of Education is spearheading any investigation into this matter. That is the colleague of the ministers. They sit at the level of cabinet together. How
Absolutely,
are he
absolutely.
going to investigate matters of such? How then that is that investigation going to be any bit unbiased? I want to say, and I want to make a call particularly to all the other indigenous girls that would have suffered at the hands of this individual to come
Yep.
forward and that unite your voices in this cause. You are not alone. I think this is the message. You are not alone with what happened. We have a young lady that has spoken up, and she has been so brave, and I'm tremendously proud of her. I do note, and I'm going to say this, I do know that there's a paper circulating that is alleged to be some statement that she made. I think a superintendent's signature also attached to that. I'm unfazed by that. The details in the allegations, it was damning. The evidence, the supporting screenshots, and all of those things that were put forward is not something we can just tuck aside and say, well, oh, there's this piece of documentation. I'm yet to learn of any legal counsel that was by her side and all of those things. We cannot be making the mistakes that we have made time and time again. When allegations of such nature come forward, we have to make the decision. The president have to make the decision that you are going to send your minister off an administrative leave at the very least while an investigation is being had. And I have not seen that. I cannot accept anything less than that. It is too much. How dare the PPP ministers be emboldened to go into indigenous communities when they have exposed indigenous women to such vile acts? We have to be questioning these things at all times. And again, I must say this is not political for me, because I can tell you, like, my father's indigenous. I come from an indigenous background. So when it comes to the fact that indigenous women are among the most vulnerable in society, I feel very strongly about this matter. Indigenous women are very slow to speak up for themselves, in many cases very quiet, humble individuals. And how dare anyone believe that because that is their personality, that they can go into their communities, they can prey on them, they can target them, and they can abuse their power, particularly the power that they have as a sitting government minister, traveling to these villages on taxpayers' dollars. I demand an investigation, and I demand that that minister be sent at least on administrative leave while that investigation is being done. And once proven, he should be jailed. Once
Thank you very
proven,
much, Rita.
jailed.
Thank you very much, Rita, and I really, really appreciate that you brought this up and you expressed deeply your concern and the value of that concern that you have will bring some sort of satisfaction. And I'm happy that you mentioned that the victim, that we are there at all times, open for them to be heard. Cameron, you want to make a point, and I
Yeah,
want to come back
I
to
want to
something
make a
else.
lot of points here,
Yeah.
Ricky. I mean, this fella has had other instances prior to this one in which he has done a lot of mannishness, not necessarily right up to this rape and all kind of thing, allegations of rape. But, some IDB officials, when I was a minister, this fella, I think it was his wife or former wife, was seen with the IDB official, and he pulled out the gun for the man, Nigel Dalam Lao. Silal and Prasad did an investigation and so on. And the man the IDB officials were so scared, he left the country. Next morning, gone. That is what he do, and other things. Look, Barbicians, if you didn't know, in today's Kaichor news, there is a massive report that shows the statement of a girl, indigenous 14-year-old or 13-year-old, who was brutally sexually exploited by, as she alleged, this government minister that we got.
She was groomed from 15, but the assault happened when she had just turned 16. I just
So,
wanted to just put that in.
Oh yes, good. Yes. And this minister has all of a sudden, notwithstanding this thing big in the press and all of that, he has remained silent. Not one utterance has he made. You know what I mean? Generally, you tell me when you said that this man do something wrong, and when you go and point out to the policeman, and the police not getting a statement from him, or nobody getting statement from him, what do you think? The
Yeah.
suspicions get even greater
Worse. Correct.
and
Correct.
worse. And he has remained silent. And now, more than that, there have been some deficiencies in certain um, institutional work that was supposed to be done when you're so young. You're supposed to go to the cops immediately to get the statement and so on. That was not done by the various ministries, whether it is public security, social service, or education itself. And we now see that, as far as I am concerned, a whole lot of attempts being made by certain government friends of that senior official minister, trying to pay off the girl. That is terrible. That is so terrible. Although there might be questions surrounding what kind of investigation we must now have, we must certainly have a criminal investigation. And whosoever is the superintendent that just say that, look, I have gone and spoken to the girl and she is literally recanted, you just don't leave it like that. That is nonsense. That is utter nonsense. When a child is involved, that kind of thing is totally useless based on all that she said before.
She's a minor at the end of the day. She's a minor. And cameras, if I can just ask at this point, how is that even a thing that we knew that no statement, they're saying no statement was made from the girl, no statement was made against her, but then there's a statement coming with signatures from the superintendent. Like, where is that fitted in?
Yeah.
Why is there a
that is for
statement
the
being
cover
made
up?
there?
That is for the cover up. It is one big cover up they want here. There is nothing else but cover up in my mind. And it is from a superintendent of police. He went to the girl and he get the girl to say that that is not true and whatever. As a senior superintendent or a superintendent, he should know that that is obviously not how you deal with that matter. You got to bring in social service protection. You got to bring in counselors and so on to talk, because that is what you got to do in these situations. And that same Priyamanik Chan had passed a Sexual Offences Act, very, very modern, to take care of these situations too. I am glad at least they come out with two statements, because normally they just shut up their mouth. They never talk anything when Bharat was doing Varshni, a whole lot of nonsense. They never opened their mouth. At least they open their mouth now, but it is not wide enough.
They're opening their mouth because they're being pressured, cameras. They're opening their mouth because they're being pressured. And I have to say that I'm happy to see so many persons coming out and speaking out in support of the young lady. And I want to say that I do note the persons online, and particularly the females, and I have to say the men too, that seek to defend this particular minister, Dharmlal, without even having an investigation into the vile allegations. And I have to say, I personally believe that if they are so in tune with this man's character, and if they have so much faith in him, then they should leave their girl child in his care.
That's right. That's right.
Leave their girl child in his care, because none of them that is out there defending him would want him anywhere close to the girl children. You understand? So for me, let them prove how much they trust this young man, this individual, by leaving him to the watchful eyes of him with their girl children.
Thank you, Dorita. You made a very, very, very valid point, and I'm really happy that you put this passion into this, because you have girl, I have a girl, and we understand to have a girl child and how we nurture them. I want to make a point about procedure, Kamraj. When I was at the personal assistant to you at the Ministry of Public Security, and I'm making this point because the head of state said he doesn't receive a letter. Now, the statement that we saw was addressed to him, the private sector, and so on. Whenever I receive a letter from President Granger, whenever he receives a letter, he will send it to the Ministry of Public Security and it comes straight to me. I will enter into a computer system and a database we have and forward it. I will immediately pick up the phone and call the Commissioner of Police.
That's right. I remember
And
all
I
of
will
that.
say, what's happening here? I'm sending a very urgent matter here for you to investigate it. And then I send it to the OPR.
I remember
That is the
those good old days.
procedure. You don't wait until a statement make at the police station and then come to you. Nonsense.
That's
I'm
right.
saying that is nonsense. That's not how you operate, how I used to operate in the office. We
Look,
used to
all
write this jury. I used to do several copies of letter, one to the OPR, one to the Commissioner of Police, one to the commanders, to ensure that all of them receive a copy of the matter to be investigated. I don't wait until the individual go and make a statement. The person did not trust the police, so they come to the president to write it. That is what
that's
she
right.
did.
That's
That
right.
is what she did. She
Yeah.
did not trust nobody in the system
Yeah.
because they
Ricky,
know there
I'm
will
looking
be a cover up. The same thing that's happening here
at
is what she's doing it. That is why she didn't do that. And he should
Yep.
have said, here on the state, I'm disappointed, man. That is not how you operate. I know the procedure. Many times Granger sent
Look,
letter to
look,
me,
look.
many
It was
times.
all to cover up, and that is why you do not have the procedures and the processes that are normative in that kind of a situation being followed through with. And this, and especially the silence of a man that loved to talk wickedness against all of us. Oh,
Yeah.
how so much he gets me very angry when he jumps with Kwame Mackay to say that I get 5 million US dollars in what the bank name? Capital One. And we
Yeah.
get one big house on Long Island and so on. And I was telling you to come out of parliament, let me catch you, because in parliament he could talk all that kind of nonsense. And he loves to talk. All of them. And now statement come out, investigations will be carried out, and he shut his mouth as if some lawyer tell him, you have a right to remain silent. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And the
No,
this
last
I
one
am
of
so
the last
disappointed.
things, Ricky, one of the last things he did say, I'm looking at our time and just I have to
Yeah.
crack the whip when it comes to us wrapping
yeah,
up.
yes, right.
So, one of the last things I saw that he did post on his page, and is something that I do want to address very, very briefly, is a resignation letter from one of the RDC councillors in Region Number 2. And that resignation letter was from Miss Malika Courtman. And I want to say Malika Courtman served very outstandingly as a counselor for the Alliance for Change there at the RDC in Region 2. And we want to say our heartfelt thank you for all the work that she's put in. And I know that we also want to acknowledge the fact that her dad is extremely ill at the point, and she has been there hand and foot for him. I know that her sister is no longer within the country, so she has been really pushing to make sure that she does pushing the extra put in the extra work to make sure that her dad is okay, and we understand completely. And her father, I have to say, has been a long-standing member of the Alliance for Change. We just visited him when we were in Region 2 the last time, Mr. Cordes, and his words of encouragement, it will stay with me for the rest of my life. He says, we have to fight, we have to continue to fight, we can't give up. And that those words will stay with me forever. So I want to say a huge thank you to Malika. You have done us really, really proud, and I know that we will continue to support you and your family in this very, very difficult time as you guys move forward. So I just wanted to add that in, Ricky. And my final comment on this matter right now, I want to say specifically to the young woman that has made the allegations against Nigel Daramlal. I want to say to her that at no point in time should you believe that you are alone. Guyanese are prepared to stand with you 100%. We are prepared to have your back. We are prepared to do whatever it takes to make sure that justice is served on your behalf. So I want to say to her, know that you have a family within Guyanese. Women throughout every single region in this country is in full support of you. We support you. We appreciate every bit that you have disclosed. We want to say that you are not alone, and everything, it's a movement that we have to start when it comes to protecting our indigenous girls. And I have to say that this will not go down just like this. We will continue to fight on your behalf, and we encourage you to speak your truth. Speak your truth and do not be intimidated by anyone. Do not be intimidated to break away from your truth. You know what the truth is. Hold on to the truth, and it will see you through.
It
Thank
will
you very much,
also
Dorita.
say a lot of other girls. Please, to that girl that is the virtual complainant here, it is important that when the truth is known to the public and people then become um, guilty and the justice is done, that it also deters other players that just like him who might want to do this arrogant thing with indigenous peoples and other peoples too. So it is important, and this thing is getting frequent. This is not only, I must tell you, about the senior government officials and so on, but in our society I had seen it developing where people do all manner of raping and this and that, and they then want to buy out the people into silence and so on. But when somebody gets that happening to them, it is an injustice because you do not deter the activity. And I'm hoping that the deterrence can come as a result of ensuring that the truth be told and that those who are responsible are brought to justice. And
Justice.
I've one final statement to be made. All of them pundits and all them mulvis and all of them people in the women's organization of the PPP and all of them, they must come forward now and defend our indigenous people. They only the other day, 17 of them burnt to death. How much? 20, sorry? 20.
20.
Right, as a result of recklessness on the part of certain, whatever might have caused that. We're going to get a commission of inquiry. But now, individual ministers doing this kind of thing to the girls? What's wrong with this place? What has Guyana become? There are no values anymore. And then to have him arrogantly talking all the crap he talks in Parliament, and they do not see it fit. Irfan Ali does not see it fit to remove this guy since that dildo incident. No, but he promotes him. So there is a lot of problems here, and this thing is not going to end like this. We have to see that justice is done for that girl, and also because when that justice is done there, it will also mean justice for other women too.
Thank you
Because
very much, Kamaraj and Dorita, our two member of parliament. I want to thank you guys very much and for this program. I think we have said a lot and we have a lot more to do. I want to thank our viewers that listen to us and to ensure that we wanted to bring the truth and bring the facts to you as we do every time, every Saturday at from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock at Channel 8 Barbie's TV, Dave's TV television station. So I want to thank you guys very much and have a good day. Thank you.
take
Good
care.
night, everyone.
Thanks.